What's going on, guys? Today I am here with Ryan Sandstrom. He is an insurance attorney. That sounds big and scary. But he's a very smart insurance attorney. And today he is going to give us 3 tips or 3 pieces of advice that you need to look at when you're looking for a commercial insurance policy. So Ryan, thank you for being with us.
You bet. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Absolutely. First, just tell us a little bit about what you do, and then we can go into the 3 tips.
Sure. So, like was mentioned, my name is Ryan Sandstrom. I'm the insurance attorney. That's everybody has to have a shtick, right? So that's my shtick. I spent the last 15 years focusing on insurance law, particularly. So, I actually worked for a judge handling insurance dockets. I actually used to sell insurance as a broker. And then I worked for a number of different carriers. Worked for a big firm in Phoenix for over a decade. And I mean, you name the insurance company, I've probably represented them at some point. Interpreting policies, interpreting coverages, down to the nitty gritty of individual lines of policies. I'm also an insurance broker now. And so part of our practice is helping people not only just understand the risks on the back end, but planning for those on the beginning, on the front end.
So you have a lot of experience.
Yeah, I'd say 15 years. And it's not just selling policies, it's understanding all the intricacies of how these policies work and how it fits with the legal framework as well. That's something, and then we'll talk about that today, but that's something that's often overlooked.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm excited. Let's go right into it. Give us the 3 tips.
All right, perfect. So this is for commercial insurance. Everybody works really, really hard to build your business and to build your assets. So the honest question I have when I'm talking to business owners is, how hard are you working to protect those assets? I think everybody's very cost conscious and they want to make sure that they're buying policies that fit their budgets. But I'll tell you, it happens very often after the fact where somebody says the phrase, "I thought I was covered for that." I'm sure you've heard that a lot. Right?
Absolutely.
I hate hearing that phrase, right? When they say, I thought I was covered for that. So I try to do what I can on the front end, on both the legal perspective, business contracting framework, and the coverage side of things to avoid that. Let's be honest, if you're looking for a discount policy that fits your budget, you can expect discount coverage. I mean, there's going to be a lot of exclusions and a lot of things that probably don't apply to your business, and unfortunately that's the coverage you bought. So, and that works for some people, right? I mean, if really coverage is not too big of a concern and it's cost conscious, then that's okay too. But understanding that you're probably going to get discount coverage. That's the reality of it.
And maybe when you're starting out, that may be your only option.
Right.
But after a while, I mean, your business is your baby.
100%.
You've built that up.
100%.
You've got to protect it.
Exactly right. So one of the things once you're at the point where you say, you know what, I'm not just buying the bottom seller policy that's the cheapest one that's out there. When I actually want coverage to protect what I built, to give me that peace of mind, there's a couple things that I recommend at all times. Number 1 is a risk audit. So that's actually coming in and almost from an underwriting perspective. So I used to work in-house for a big insurance company as well, so I got to see how they evaluate coverage at the time the policy was placed and how that was interpreted after the fact.
Interesting.
So a risk audit, what that means to me is that includes both insurance and legal. So say, for example, you have a business and you have contracts with other people out there. A lot of construction companies have subcontracts. There are provisions that are in those subcontracts that assume responsibilities and assume duties and, for example, indemnity provisions, defense and indemnity. Oftentimes, those provisions aren't covered by your insurance policy because it's an insured contract that you're buying. So that's a really scary thing to me, is all of a sudden you have this, you think, oh, I have this contract, legal side, I'm good. I have this insurance policy, so I must be good. But sometimes the good agents and brokers are not talking with the good lawyers. So an insurance audit is basically, it's an underwriting process to understand the legal and the insurance risks and making sure those are all protected by your policy.
Makes sense. So I know a few companies out there that are labeled as InsureTech, fast, like you can go and buy the insurance policy yourself.
Right.
A lot of those policies specifically exclude subcontractors.
Exactly right.
They don't know that. Oh, this is a fast, easy policy. I tell them what I am. They say I'm covered. They don't know that.
100%. And it's the nuances and it's the nitty gritty of the policies that most people never read, right? You scroll through the box of all those, terms and conditions and just click accept.
Exactly.
And then you hope it covers everything, but people haven't taken the time to check those things. I don't expect business owners to understand all the nuances and intricacies of those policies or how they work. But that's why we're here. I mean, that we can educate the business owners and teach them that it's not just reading those generalities and saying, I hope I'm good, but allowing somebody to come in that has a lot of experience both on the legal side and the insurance coverage side, and to say, here's what you're looking at genuinely, here's your risk, here's your gaps. and then accounting for those gaps.
Absolutely. Yeah, you shouldn't feel bad as a business owner if you don't understand that.
Exactly.
Because your business is something else completely aside from contracts or insurance.
100%. Your
Your job is to actually read that and let them know.
Exactly right. And then for all the insurance producers out there, one of the things I always am very conscientious about, I don't want to step on anybody else's toes. So I try to be a resource from the legal perspective and for the brokers to say, look, if you're trying to land a big policy or if you're trying to help somebody make sure all their coverage is protected, then we work together on those things. And so again, I don't charge a fee for that.
Okay.
Because I'm a broker, I can actually be part of co-write the policy with other agents.
Got it.
So again, just a resource that I can provide to other agents to make sure that, honestly, from a liability perspective from the agents, that they're
Right.
protected too.
Right.
And I've dealt with claims where the agent or producer actually gets sued after the fact for not placing the right policy. So in a way, I'm trying to help that avoid those as well.
Perfect. Then everyone's happy. The agent's happy, the client's happy, no one's
Exactly.
getting sued.
And there's not any extra fee to it. That's the whole point. Is so, we come in and we really try to understand. If we have to modify things from the legal perspective, then of course we start talking fees.
Right.
And then if we place a new policy or modify the policy, then of course there's going to be an underwriting change. So that's where the premiums would potentially be changed. But if I come in and I say, look, you're fully protected, you're just fine, rock on. I've actually done that before.
Awesome.
I had a contractor that I looked at his book of business and everything. I said, look, you guys are in a really good spot. And here's a few little tweaks, but I don't think they're mandatory. And that can happen. That's just fine.
It's great. That's a great service.
Okay. So the second part is just choosing the right broker.
Okay.
It really does matter who you hire, right? I hate to say that, but there are a lot of people that just sell insurance and don't understand the intricacies. Your whole understanding, trying to teach people the nuances of coverage.
Yeah.
I think that's phenomenal. I think that's really, really great because there's a lot of brokers out there that are selling a product.
Yes.
Effectively.
Yes.
Just selling a policy. So choosing the right broker. And the question I always ask my clients is, has your agent read the policy? Like, honest to goodness, have they sat down? These policies are long.
They are.
Like 48 pages long, right?
Yep.
So have they actually sat down and read the policy?
And you know what? 75% of agents, I would tell you, are not. That's from my perspective.
100%. Yeah, I shouldn't say 100%, but yeah, 75%. The vast majority of agents don't read the policies. So from an education standpoint, how does a policy actually become, get into existence? Generally, the way it works is an agent or a broker will sit down on a website with some basic information about the client and input all that information onto the website. It's an underwriting form. How many cars do they have? How much revenue do they do? What buildings do they own? And then you check the box, bam, 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 and you go through and then you submit that for a quote from the carrier, and then the carrier will say, yes, we'll bind it for that particular amount.
Yep.
Usually it does not result in an actual policy that's provided to you that you then go read, or that you then go understand, which kind of is mind-boggling if you think about that. Like, you just sold a policy that you don't even know the intricacies of the wording on. So on the coverage side of things, when I litigated cases, I've litigated cases in state and federal court and the Ninth Circuit and the Eighth Circuit. So I've litigated cases all involving insurance coverage, interpretation of policies.
Okay.
I've literally focused on individual words.
Wow.
When you're talking about commercial general liability policies, business risks, umbrella, all that different types of stuff, I focus on very, very nuanced details of how those policies are interpreted. And then we get to go fight those in court to understand what those mean.
Okay.
And here's a mind-boggling thing. Insurance companies hire lawyers to write coverage opinions about their policies. Isn't that crazy?
That's insane.
So insurance companies literally don't know how to interpret their own policies.
Wow.
And so I did that I've written thousands of coverage opinions interpreting policies for carriers. So now on the planning side, when we go in, I can say, look, I know how that policy is going to be interpreted because I've litigated that particular provision in the Ninth Circuit.
Wow. That almost doesn't make sense that the insurance company has to hire someone to interpret their policy.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's
exactly.
crazy.
Yeah, it really is. But so that's why I think it's important, like yourself included, like people that are like gurus on the weeds. Like we get to be insurance nerds, right?
Right.
And it's fun. It's interesting to me because we get to understand, how to make it all fit. It's a puzzle to me. I think it's fun.
Yes. And you know what? I hate insurance commercials and the marketing that these insurance companies do.
Right.
Because that's all it's about. People call us up and say, hey, give me the best rate.
Right.
And I can't stand that. And that makes us the same as every other insurance agency out there.
Exactly.
I don't want to be like that.
Exactly.
I want to be someone that can really educate you and make sure that you feel comfortable, I feel comfortable, and when something happens, you're good.
100%. Again, that's the whole idea. People spend a lot of time to build their business, but they're not spending a lot of time to protect it.
Yes.
And so sometimes when they start thinking about protecting it, it gets really crazy in the nuances. No one wants to read that 48-page document.
Right.
Again, that's why we exist. I mean, that's why we do what we do, to understand those intricacies for them. And just one of the things I always say is, you focus on your business, I'll focus on protecting it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, and the last thing is, in terms of establishing the coverage, it's documenting your expectations.
Okay.
So that's a really important piece that we do as part of a risk audit that I think is incredibly valuable, that I don't think is done really at all. Mm-hmm. So what I mean by documenting your expectations, there's a concept in insurance law called reasonable expectations.
Okay.
So it's a judicial policy where you can actually modify or reform the policy through the court.
Okay,
so
interesting.
So imagine you go through this process, the risk audit, imagine you hire the right broker, and then still the insurance company denies the claim for whatever reason.
Okay.
And they say, hey, I'm not going to cover that. If you've done a good enough job on the front end to document your expectations, mm-hmm. you can actually go through and file a lawsuit against the carrier for a coverage. It's called declaratory judgment action.
Okay.
And you can ask the court to judicially modify or reform the policy to fit your reasonable expectations.
Wow. And you've had success.
100%. Yeah. So those are hard cases to prove, right? Because usually people say, I just bought the policy, I didn't even think about it.
Right.
But if you have, and what we do as part of our risk audit is we write a letter and say, here's what the insured's primary business is, and we literally write like an underwriting workup for the carrier and submit that to the carrier as part of the initial claim. Or sorry, is it part of the initial policy?
Okay.
So hypothetically, say a claim comes up that gets denied, guess what's in the underwriting file? It's an expectations.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, there's a document in there that we can say, oh, by the way, on such and such date, we wrote this out and this is what was expected. And if the carrier doesn't rebut that at the time it's submitted, or doesn't argue with you as to the specifics that you wrote in there, then they're going to be in a hard position to say, no, we're not going to cover this. So that tees up the last part of this, and this third part of it is this idea of what do you do if the insurance company actually is wrong? Right. So what do you do in the circumstance where the carrier denies? And that's where we've litigated thousands and lots and lots of these claims. So there's two pieces to every insurance policy. Number one, there's coverage, right? So that's the contractual piece. What does the contract actually say? But then on top of that, if the insurance company doesn't treat you fairly, if they don't take their interests and make sure your interests are above theirs, right? They got to make sure that, hey, I'm selling you a policy and you're buying it for peace of mind. Mm-hmm. If the insurance company acts unreasonably, then they're completely voiding that peace of mind. I mean, it's just gone.
Yep.
So in that circumstance, that's a claim called bad faith.
Okay.
So, and when you do bad faith, it's actually really cool in Arizona. Arizona is very friendly to help insureds. Okay. So you can make a claim for the contract damages, which includes attorney's fees.
Okay.
And you can make a claim for the tort of bad faith when the insurance company isn't treating you fairly.
Okay.
So that's basically how we keep the teeth on the carrier, right?
Yep.
Is we make sure we plan it really, really well, and if they try to do something funny down the road, we say, look, not only are we going to make a claim for the contract, and the contract's going to provide coverage for what we're asking for, but we're also going to now make a claim for bad faith, which is extra contractual damages, more than the policy would actually provide for in that circumstance, and including attorney's fees.
Okay.
So it really does, it's kind of a holistic approach as we start from the beginning, understand the risks, build the risk, make sure we understand the policy that fit with those risks, build the legal infrastructure to make sure that all that's protected. And in the event that the carrier still does something wonky, in the event they still deny the claim or making life difficult, mm-hmm. then we have the teeth of the bad faith claims.
Okay.
And so the shop that we tried to build here is literally managing all those claims from start to finish.
Yeah.
Or not even claims, but just policy expectations. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And part of our practice, like I said, is not just the insurance, but it's also the transactional part. So if we need to modify contracts, agreements, subcontracts, anything like that to fit with the insurance policies, great. I just did that today for a client.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's kind of my three overarching ideas for commercial insurance to make sure that there's adequate protection and there's adequate opportunity to ensure that protection is going to be there for the long haul.
Okay, I love it. This is all super interesting to me. I know for a lot of people, it's over their head. Yeah. But long story short, if you're a business owner and you have an awesome business that you built, you need to make sure it's protected. Ryan can help you with Copper Canyon Law Group. We'll put his information below. I'm sure he'd love it if you reach out to him with any questions.
Yeah, you bet. And just a shout out. So Copper Canyon Law, and then my brokerage is called Diamond Financial Group.
Okay.
So we work harmoniously. If it's on the legal side, we go through Copper Canyon.
Okay.
If it's on the brokerage side, we work through Diamond Financial Group.
Perfect. And we'll put all that down below so you can reach out to Ryan. Thanks, Ryan, for being with us.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yep.